Good evening and thank you for joining us. RCMP are investigating after two men were found dead outside a residence in Meadow Lake. This following a complaint of shots being fired at the location around 10 o'clock this morning. Major Crimes North is now assisting local RCMP, and officials say there is no risk to public safety. Now, more details will be released as they become available. Well, drug overdoses are on the rise in the border city from a highly potent painkiller. Approximately one person dies every 3 days in Canada from a fentanyl overdose. And as Hannah Tita explains, the Lloydminster RCMP are warning the public of its danger.
This pill goes by the street name Green 80, but is more commonly known as fentanyl. It is mostly prescribed in the form of a patch or a lozenge for pain control. Fentanyl is, like other street drugs, something that can be found from dealers. In the past month, the Lloydminster RCMP have responded to several calls of fentanyl drug overdoses.
Fentanyl has been in Lloydminster for a while, and we've been doing our best to combat those issues.
Fentanyl is 50 to 100 times more potent than heroin. Since 2013, 25 deaths in Saskatchewan have been linked to fentanyl.
The pure fentanyl itself is extremely powerful and can kill very quickly. People will use cutting agents to dilute the fentanyl itself, and that will also help their supply last longer and make their pills non-lethal.
Constable Kurzinger says when fentanyl is mixed with a cutting agent, it creates hot spots. That means there is no guarantee on the amount of fentanyl in each pill, which is typically what causes overdoses. Denise Blaine with WPD Ambulance says there has been a spike in the drug overdose over the past 6 weeks, mostly from people ranging between 20 to 35 years of age.
We've probably had about 8 overdoses for fentanyl, with 1 confirmed death. Usually they're unconscious and unresponsive and having some breathing problems. So we have to give them oxygen. We do have a drug, it's called Narcan, and that will counteract the effects of fentanyl.
You first get a false sense of euphoria, you feel good, and it really, because it's absorbed so fast, it gives you a high basically. And then of course you get drowsiness and you stop being alert, and eventually it's death.
Hannah Tita, Newcap News.
RCMP say speed and alcohol were likely factors in a fatal crash north of Elk Point. Just before 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, a 2005 Chevy Cavalier rolled about 18 kilometers north of Elk Point on Highway 42 near Township Road 585A. There were 5 people in the vehicle at the time. A 21-year-old man from Kehwin was the driver of the car and was found dead at the scene. 4 other passengers were taken to hospital and their conditions are not known at this time. The investigation is continuing. Well, last night, parents and supporters attended a special presentation regarding attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, commonly known as ADHD. The mental condition affects roughly 10% of males and 4% of females under the age of 18. In this week's Healthy Living, Krisha Khan has more on the disorder that could be affecting your children and you don't even know it.
ADHD affects millions of children all over North America. It's an illness that can impact the success and well-being of your child.
Essentially, it's kids that have a hard time sitting still when they're supposed to, sustaining their focus on things that are a little bit boring, a little bit mundane, and they're impulsive and they don't think things through.
Wait a minute, that sounds like the behavior of any typical child.
Untreated ADHD, kids tend to have lower academic performance, they drop out of school earlier, tend to get more in trouble with the law, they're at bigger risk of experimenting with drugs.
Okay, so there are some differences. It's not uncommon for any child to not pay attention here and there, but where the condition differentiates is when there's a combination of multiple symptoms, such as impulsivity, inattention, and hyperactivity.
Not every kid who fidgets and can't pay attention has ADHD, but when they do have ADHD, it's important that we pick it up, diagnose it, and manage it.
The good news is the condition can be treated, but each case may be different.
There isn't necessarily one treatment path that's going to work good for everybody. It's very individualized treatment, and sometimes trial and error is needed.
The most common treatment is prescribed medication. However, there can be side effects from these stimulant drugs.
Difficulty sleeping. Sometimes because it increases metabolism, we see loss of appetite and sometimes some weight loss with them.
It's important each case be handled by a medical professional to ensure the best results suited for your child. Krisha Khan, Newcap News.